Can the gimbal system on the X50 Pro stand up against the Osmo Pocket? Hey kids, Tito James here. Welcome back to the channel where we take awesome out of the box. Our new team member Cholo already showed you the Vivo X50, so in this one, I'm going to be showing you its sibling, the X50 Pro. This smartphone is also all about the cameras, and while you can get great photos with it, it has an ace up its sleeve for video. It's the first phone that I've heard of with a built-in gimbal so that you can capture smooth clips for creating content, which we will be testing later on to see what it's truly capable of. So let's jump straight in by talking about the elephant in the room. And I'm pretty sure if you've heard about this phone, you're already thinking about it. It's the price for the X50 Pro. You see, the price for this device is a little steep, coming in at 39,999 pesos. And if you look at its spec sheet, I can understand why there's been a lot of negative reaction to it. It is the first phone that we have listed for the review on the website, and I have to agree with the team that it is pretty expensive, which is a bit of a shame because I honestly think that Vivo got a lot of things right with this device. First of which is the fact that the X50 Pro is one of the most beautiful smartphones I had the chance of trying out this year and fits in nicely with other devices that cost 40,000 pesos or higher. The material choice is the same as other flagship level devices with a combination of glass and aluminum, but the fact that it's frosted and has a soft satin finish really gives extra luxe appeal. It does reject smears and smudges a little more than your typical glass-backed phones, but that doesn't mean that it won't require a wipe down once in a while. The colorway of our review unit is called Alpha Gray, which gives it a bit of sophistication, but you do get subtle shifts depending on the way light hits it that makes it all the more appealing. You're also getting nice curves on the back to complement the curved display in front, so the ergonomics of the X50 Pro are definitely on point and has the right amount of weight to make it sit well in the hand. There's no doubt about it, guys. This smartphone is an absolute stunner. For a quick tour of the button and port layout, you have access to the SIM tray, microphone, USB-C port, and speaker grill on the bottom. The right side houses the volume rocker and power button. And up on top is another microphone plus the words "professional photography" to really drive home what this device is all about. Speaking of the cameras, it's housed in a relatively small array, but you can definitely see that there's something different with the main one, which we will be getting into detail a bit later. Up in front is of course that curved display that I mentioned earlier, and it's another thing that Vivo got right with the X50 Pro. It measures in at 6.56 inches at Full HD Plus resolution, and it utilizes a dynamic Super AMOLED panel. Yes, apparently, or at least so I've heard, these are sourced from Samsung. Now you know that I am a bit biased when it comes to Samsung displays, but can you blame me? The colors look fantastic, helped out by a great contrast ratio, so you know that I've been enjoying watching content on this device, and I give it 2 thumbs up. You're also getting a 90Hz refresh rate, so navigation is noticeably smoother, a 180Hz touch sampling rate, HDR10 Plus support, and a choice between DCI-P3 or sRGB color profile. So all's good in the looks and display department, but under the hood, it's a different story, and that's where the cons actually come back in. You see, for all the flagship features that the X50 Pro has, its processing package doesn't get the same treatment. It's sporting a Snapdragon 765G paired with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. In all fairness, the package is more than enough for my use that centers mostly on watching videos, work via email, messaging, and taking notes, plus the occasional game here and there. But at the phone's price point, you definitely expect it to have the 865 at the heart of this device. On the software side of things, the Vivo X50 Pro is running on Android 10 with FunTouch UI, and thankfully they've done a lot to update their own UI overlay in the past few years, where it feels more like an Android device and not like it was some iOS hybrid, and I do have to commend them for that, but there's certainly more room for improvement. To keep the phone going, it has a 4,315 mAh battery, and while we got errors every time we ran our battery benchmarks, the team and I did find that it had enough juice to last an entire day and then some on a single charge, with the 33-watt charger getting you up and running in about an hour as well. Now comes the fun part, the main focus of the X50 Pro, its cameras. For the setup, you have that custom 48MP main camera with the electromagnetic induction gimbal system that makes it sound like something straight out of Voltus 5 or something you would cook on. You also have an 8MP ultrawide, a 13MP telephoto portrait lens, and another 8MP telephoto with a periscope setup. For taking selfies, you have a 32MP front camera at an aperture of f2.45, which you can use with Vivo's very extensive beauty mode that I'm a little scared to dive into. Now, before we get to the video samples, let's talk about the photos first. In a nutshell, I think they look fantastic with a great amount of detail across the board relative, of course, to the megapixel count of the cameras you're using. The nice thing here though is that the white balance is pretty consistent all throughout as well, which is usually where other brands have a bit of trouble. Also, photos taken in low light are pretty good, helped out by the night mode on the camera app. Okay, so yes, I did rush that portion a little bit because I do want to talk to you guys about the video part of the X50 Pro, which is why I really wanted to try out this phone. Vivo has it listed on their website that the X50 Pro has 5-axis stabilization, but that's with a combination of the actual gimbal system, which the team and I believe is 2-axis, with EIS handling the rest of the movie magic. Now, does it work? Yes, with a slight caveat. So as you can see on screen, the footage is really smooth, and this is with the ultra steady feature turned on. But what I noticed is that when you pan a little too fast, the gimbal has a hard time coping, which results in pretty jerky adjustments. So make sure that when you're filming to smooth out your motion and not just whip it around. I think we can all agree that the footage from the X50 Pro looks absolutely smooth. Now it's time for a bit of a challenge. Can the gimbal system on the X50 Pro stand up against the Osmo Pocket? Now, in terms of overall stabilization, I think the Osmo Pocket has it because that's what it's built for, but how close can the X50 actually get? Here's a bit of sample footage from both. So actually, if you watch them side by side, the X50 Pro does surprisingly well against the Osmo Pocket. The gimbal system comes into play to help stop micro jitters from me physically holding the phone, and you don't get that weird sway I often see with just EIS. I will say that the motion on the Osmo Pocket is definitely a lot smoother, but the overall quality and exposure is better on the X50 Pro. So like I said, in terms of overall stabilization, the Osmo Pocket definitely takes the W, but the X50 Pro does a really good job as well. So on to the main question. Is the Vivo X50 Pro worth considering for your next purchase? And I can already imagine some of you shaking your heads no, and I'm guessing it's because of the processor that they use on this phone, plus its asking price. It's a bit of a shame really, because again, there's a lot of things that Vivo got right with this phone. It gets a check on flagship looks, the screen looks absolutely fantastic, and the gimbal, while it may seem like a gimmick, actually does its job and does it well. It's just hard to get over the fact that you're not getting a flagship SoC to go along with what could have been a phone that I would have easily given a Tito stamp of approval to if you were looking for a device that takes really great photos and has some awesome video capabilities. Still, if the gimbal system has you curious and of course you have the money to spend, go for it. It's your money. And there you go, guys. That's pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for dropping by and spending a few minutes with me. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, sub to the channel, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our content. If you have any questions, leave them down below, and I'll try my best to get to them as soon as I can. For all the latest tech news and gadget reviews, head to unbox.ph. Plus, follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. My name is Jamie. Peace, God bless. See you guys next time, and of course, stay safe.